Hi, my name is Ritesh Prasad, and I'm going to take you through FastRouter.ai. Once you sign up on FastRouter, this is the dashboard screen that you will be presented with. There are two things that you could do. One is you could either create your own API key to access over 100 plus of the latest models, or you could start off by trying our model playground. Now, over the course of the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a quick dive into all of the features that FastRouter provides. First up, the model playground. Now, to get started with the model playground, you could just click on Explore Model Playground or directly click on the model playground on the left navigation. Once in the model playground, you will be able to try out different curated collections of models, or you could just specifically look for and choose a particular model from the model catalog. Now, if I wanted to try out the latest flagship models, all I have to do is just click on flagship models and put in my query, for example, what is 2 plus 5? And you will find different models processing this request and coming back with a response. Once the response has been generated from all of your models, you could click on performance metrics and compare the performance metrics, including time and speed of these various models that you've looked at. You can also add more models into this playground and compare the performance of these models with the other models that you've chosen. And that, in a nutshell, is the model playground. Next up is our model catalog, where we provide over 100 plus of the latest models across text outputs as well as other outputs such as image generation, video generation, vector embeddings, audio, and so on. You can also check out the Help Select a Model tool that we've built on our website and specify your goals and the outputs that you would like. And FastRouter will recommend the models that fit your criteria. Now, coming back to the model catalog directory, we also provide a nifty sort tool for you to sort models on specific criteria such as intelligence scores, coding performance, math scores, or even performance metrics such as latency and throughput. You can also filter models by specific creators or supported parameters from the models. And that is the model catalog. Next up is key creation. Now, to access all of the models that FastRouter provides in its catalog, you can create a key, and this key can either be used in your favorite IDE or in your code. FastRouter provides an OpenAI-compatible endpoint for you to configure the endpoint as well as the model of your choice. Now, to create a key, all you need to do is head back to the dashboard and click on this button that says Create Key, and then you will be presented with this pop-up. Copy this key now because this key will again not be visible to you. So we highly recommend that you copy this key at this point. Along with creating the key, you can choose the project in which this key needs to be contained. You also have various other options that you can set for your key. For example, you can enable budget controls and specify a particular budget within which your key spend needs to be capped. You also have various other advanced settings. For example, you can specify specific models that this key is allowed to access along with any tokens per minute or requests per minute limits. You can also set an expiry date for your key. Now, should you choose to disable content logging, you can specify that option here. Alternately, if you want to enable content logging, you will also be able to take advantage of various other features that FastRouter provides, such as evals, where you can measure and optimize the performance of your API calls. Now, once you've created a key, the key can be used in this OpenAI compatible endpoint where all you need to do is to change the endpoint URL to FastRouter's endpoint and specify the key that you've just created. We also provide various programming language framework code for you to get started quickly. And we also have this page in our docs where you could quickly go head out and check how to integrate this key with your favorite IDE, be it Cursor, Cline, or Ruko. That is key creation. The next feature we look at on FastRouter is the activity log and the dashboard. Now, if you've created a key on FastRouter and if you have enabled content logging of your requests and responses on that key, you will see the stream of all the requests and the responses in the activity log. Now, the great thing about the activity log is you can click on a particular line item and actually look at the request and the response that you've received from the model and the request made to the model. You have both a pretty mode as well as a JSON mode of these different requests and responses. You also have interesting filters on the activity log. You can not only filter your logs based on a particular key model or a particular input or an output search string. You can also click on the plus item and filter on projects or specific tags that you may have sent along with the request, the user ID, session ID, a particular country, and so on. You also have the ability to click on this icon out here and show or unhide or hide specific columns in the activity log and control what you see here. Now, assuming you made a bunch of requests to FastRouter, you can also see this data on a very rich interactive dashboard. The great thing about the dashboard is that the ability to apply cross filters. For example, if you just want to narrow down to all the requests made on a particular model, say Claude Opus in this case, you can just click on this cross filter and automatically all of the sections in your dashboard updates to data related to this particular model. You can also specify a particular provider and sort of apply different types of cross filters to understand the spend happening on a particular provider on FastRouter, along with some other filters that you've applied. So dashboards is a very, very interesting way to understand trends on particular projects, on particular keys, or how your spends are on specific models and so on. And that's the way you get a sense of how your organization is leveraging all of these different LLMs that you may have access to via FastRouter. The next interesting and powerful feature on FastRouter that we will show you is evaluations. Evaluations helps you identify any issues with your LLM requests and responses. Now, the way to create an evaluation is you head to the evaluation section on FastRouter and you click on this button that says create evaluation. You can enter a specific evaluation name for your evaluation. Let's say we call this evaluation run. The next step is to import the data for your evaluations. In this case, I'm going to choose a project and a particular model. So let's say I specify I have made some requests using this particular model, Opus 4.1. So I select this model and I can specify the sampling rate based on which the requests need to be fetched. Now, once I've imported this test data, I can also add additional models or runs for this request. So I can do this side by side. So for example, now I'm going to select Haiku 4.5. So what this means is the same requests that were involved in the data that I've imported will now be run with Claude Haiku alongside Opus 4.1. And both these runs will be compared with my LLM judge. Now to add a judge, I click on add under test criteria and choose either a scorer or a labeler. So in this case, I will choose an auto grader. I can now specify the model that I want to use for my LLM judge in this case, and also specify the input and output variables that need to be evaluated and a particular pass or fail thresholds. As I said, you could also use a custom grader, in which case you can specify the prompt or use a labeler and configure the LLM judge using specific categorical variables. Now, once you've specified the test criteria, choose a particular key that needs to be used for your evaluations to run and click on run. Now, once you've ran your evaluations, you will be able to see the evaluations in your evaluations list page. You can click through a particular evaluation and get an overview of how these different runs compare in terms of cost or performance, in terms of latency. You can also click through a particular evaluation and see the results of the LLM judge evaluating the generated output. You can also click on a particular cell and understand the explanation for a particular score given by your LLM judge, and also expand these requests and responses that you've sent to the LLM judge. And that's how you can use the power of evaluations to identify any specific issues with your product and optimize the requests that you're sending to your chosen AI model. The next feature on FastRouter that we will be talking about is batch processing, a smart, cost-efficient way for you to make requests to the LLMs. Now, if you don't mind waiting for some time to receive responses for the requests that you're making to different models, A smart way to do so would be to create a batch. Click on the Create Batch button from the batch processing section on FastRouter. Now, we support both chat completions as well as embeddings on our batch processing feature. And we give you a sample file that you could use to format your request to either the chat completions endpoint or the embeddings endpoint. Now, once you've uploaded this file onto FastRouter, these requests will then be sent to the providers, and you will then receive all of the responses to these different requests that are contained in your batch processing file, and you'll be able to download these requests by clicking on the download results button from the batch processing section on FastRouter. FastRouter will keep you informed about the status of your ongoing batch requests. Will tell you the start time as well as the completion time of these requests, and including if there are any errors amongst the requests that you've made to FastRouter and to the provider that we support via batch processing. The next feature we'll talk about is add external keys or bring your own key, which allows you to configure your organization's API keys that you may have with different providers such as OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, and so on. Now, what you could do is go to the Add External Keys section on FastRouter and click on Add External Provider and choose the specific provider key that you want to configure on FastRouter. For example, you can click on Anthropic Claude and specify your Anthropic key on FastRouter. The advantage of doing this is twofold. Firstly, the credits that you have on FastRouter will not be consumed when you have a particular provider key configured on FastRouter. The second bigger advantage of doing this is that you can create keys of FastRouter and have these keys shared with the developers in your organization without actually having to share your Anthropic key with the developers. It allows you to tightly manage spends and control any runaway spends that may happen if your organization's key were to get leaked somehow. So that's the advantage of bringing your own key on FastRouter, and you will still have access to all the integrated dashboard metrics that for the API calls that are made on the FastRouter key, which in turn uses your organization's key. Next up is users and projects. Once you've created an organization on FastRouter, you can also invite your colleagues by clicking on the Invite Member button from the users menu, and you can give them access as either an organization member or as an organization owner. Organization owners will be project admins for all the projects that you create. A project is nothing but a collection of keys and users associated with a project. You can always click on Create a Project and specify any specific models that the users in the project or the keys in the project are allowed to access, as well as other limits such as tokens per minute, requests per minute, or a budget limit for your project. Once you've created your project, you can go to the Users tab and manage the access control of the users who are allowed to access this project. And that concludes users and projects. The next interesting feature that we're going to be talking about on FastRouter is virtual models. Virtual models allows you to create a model alias. You can give a name for your chosen set of models, which is a handpicked curated set for a particular use case. For example, let's say you're interested in the fastest models on FastRouter. You could go to virtual models and select the set of models that are the best at latency, which have the lowest latency. For example, you just click on latency low to high, and you can pick hand select a set of models that are primed for low latency. The other way to use virtual model list is also you can check for models for a particular use case. Let's say you're interested in models that are best in a particular use case such as coding. You can filter those specific models and add them to your model list. Now, once you've selected a set of models, you can go in and click on next and give a particular model alias name. For example, let's say you give the name past, and you can create this alias and specify a particular strategy, such as a random shuffle, the lowest latency amongst these set of models, the models that have the highest throughput, the lowest usage, or the lowest price. Depending on the strategy that you choose and the weights that you give, a specific model from this list will be chosen along with the request if you make a request to FastRouter by specifying the model name as the virtual model alias name. Now, another interesting thing about these model lists is that if any of your best performing models is, let's say, having an issue at any particular time, the next model automatically acts as a failover or a fallback, and those models in this model list will be taken in sequence if the primary model, which is having the best latency or the best throughput, etc., is down for the particular request. And that's the virtual model list.